Would you agree with that? A business case. So we have here almost 22 projects. Fair enough? Why do you want to do that project? Other than the fact that my boss wants me to do it, or this is an easy thing for me to do, why do you want to do your projects? What benefit is it going to have to ORNL or to Y12 or to Robert? See, I was going to call you Sharpie. That's right. That honestly, in none of these came through. I want to do a project on inventory of parts. But why? Why is that important to ORNL? Why is that important? You have to link it in the business case to the well-being of the institution. And you have to link this to initiatives and measures at the institutional level. Would you, one, I want to make sure that what I'm putting up there, we have an agreement on, that these are necessary things. Because otherwise, why would anybody care about your project other than you? If you're not making an impact to your institution, and you cannot show that your work to some measure has an effect on the institution, why should you be doing that particular project? That's very important. Okay, somebody tell me that that's not true.
It's not true.
Okay. And the reason that is not true is?
You told me that.
Oh, okay. But you see, it makes sense, right? It does make sense. And it elevates your project, but if you do this on a regular basis, it elevates your position and what you do within an organization. You don't change much in what you do, it is the communication and the importance of what you do. And that I did not see in a single write-up. Okay, it simply said, I have talked to my supervisor and we decided that this is the project. Not a reason. See, to do a project is one thing, to select a project is another thing. We do a lot of work. We do not do effective work. I'd rather you do less work, but effective work. Okay. The second thing is performance metrics. And again, these, I'm trying to simplify this for you, and then so that we can discuss it, and then I'm going to reformat that for you, if it's possible, okay? Business metrics are what? I mean, performance metrics are what?
Some quantifiable improvement that you can go
Right.
back to.
So I'm going to ask this question, and you can be really, really frank. Is this a good class? That is not a relevant question. Is it a good class? Oh yeah, I come here and I feel good. Or no, I absolutely hate this class. That has nothing to do with it. It is the definition of what we mean by a good class. If it is coffee, and the amount of coffee that we serve, it may be an okay class. If it's the seating in which you're sitting, it may be an okay class. But what is it? If I say, is this a good class? That's not a good question to answer because I don't know what your answers are. Yes or no or maybe is dependent upon what?
Making tangible the intangible.
So what we have to do is set the criteria and set performance metrics to be able to do what? To prove that that's what it is. So in a very few cases, now watch this, in a very few cases, did I see the definition of what you are going to improve. I am going to improve this. I don't know what that means. I honestly don't know what that means. So if you're going to paint the wall, does that mean that you have improved the process? If you then make the piece of paper that you had and say, put a blank on there and therefore now everybody puts their name on, is that the process that you're improving? What is it that you're trying to improve? You have to have a performance metrics. Now these performance metrics are of different kinds. Cost, quality, okay, delivery, all right, safety, security. These are not performance metrics, these are what? Dimensions. You see, these are dimensions. For these dimensions, when I say cost, cost of what? You have to tell me what cost you're going to be looking at, right? Labor cost, material cost, total cost, I don't know, non-conformance cost. What is it that you're looking at? You're going to have to define for me what that dollar is. If we're talking about quality, you're going to have to define for me that measure. If you're looking at delivery, then you're going to have to tell me, oh my God, maybe, I'm not sure, customer satisfaction level, okay? Something like that. Safety, number of incidences. Security, I don't know, number of incidences. I'm not sure. This is the dimension. Give me just 1 minute. This is my dimension. This is generally how it's measured. And then, watch this. This is what I am going to measure in my project. In order to get this customer satisfaction, I may be looking at my lead time. I'm going to reduce what? My lead time. Now, if I reduce my lead time, I am going to have better customer delivery. I have improved my delivery, and that is a key initiative of delivery of widgets to my sponsor is a major initiative within my organization. I will reduce the cost of material. Therefore, I'm going to reduce the overall cost of the product. The cost is an important concept to the delivery of a product to my sponsor. Where is your effort going to be? Your effort is going to be here. This is what you're going to be improving, but by improving this, you're improving this, you're improving this, and it has an impact to the initiative within an organization. Now, I have linked lean to the overall organization. Otherwise, nobody cares. Nobody particularly cares what you have learned in this class. Everybody may say, oh my God, great job. You're in this class, right? And they say, and they may get up and give a speech of our employees are getting educated. They're doing it because it meets a metric. Understand, nobody particularly cares about you. That's a little harsh. So I don't want you to go home depressed. But I want to make a point to you. You're in this class because the institution thought maybe that we need more systems engineers. Why? Not because they want you to be a systems engineer, they need more systems engineer. Maybe it is because if we can keep younger people here, we can retain them more. But it's not about you. And in this project, you have to make those links. Fair enough? That was a little harsh. that nobody
I might-
cares.
and I just,
Yes,
I was
sir.
actually, I guess, maybe a little bit confused on what you're looking for then, because I thought we were just identifying a problem. And then,
It is,
which
it
we
is.
would go to a project, not, you know, trying to keep it like one page and some, you know, was actually kind of difficult as far as.
Can I be a little harsh because I am
Oh, you
on
can
that
be,
roll?
yeah, yeah.
On that roll.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
No,
I'll retract
I have to
that.
come back to you, all right? When I read your stuff, I'm supposed to at least understand what you're doing, right, fair enough? I generally have a sense of nuance of what you're gonna do, but really no clue of what you're gonna do. So therefore I said, what should I do? I said, if it is within the realm of what we can help work with them on, approve it, but then go back and talk to them. And that's why a lot of you got this thing and say, you know, come and see me so we can refine it, or we need to refine this, or do something to that effect. A lot of you got that. Okay. Yes, sir.
I don't know if anyone else had this problem or not, but to get my idea through our CIO office, it took me about a week and a half and a lot of rewrites on some things. And it's not that my idea is some crazy sensitive idea, but when you start adding your quantifiers, the people that look at this get very nervous about business sensitive information, like not that it's classified information, but business sensitive, like labor fit, yeah, you know,
Fair enough. I agree.
things like that. So, so it's I think that maybe some of us had thought of those things, or if they went through the same thing that I did, we thought about it, and then someone says, no, you don't want to put these what amount we spend on something, or you don't want to put the labor hours associated with it, or something like that.
It's okay. I think I'm not too worried. This class and this program is to change the way you think. Whether we got it on a piece of paper at one time, I don't care.
Right.
To the fact that we can get it by the end of the semester, and it changes the way, not only on this project, but how you present yourself to your management in other cases, is very important. Yes, sir.
Have you responded to everybody that submitted one?
Now, watch this. So I want to qualify myself just like the Republican debate yesterday. Everybody that I know of that I should have responded, I've responded. But I get probably 50 to 100 emails a day. So if I miss somebody, I am sorry. The last one that I know of is somebody that I did not respond to because it was started out with, you know, getting this to you was like an act of Congress or something to that. Okay. All right, so that was that's the last one, and everyone before that, I have, to my understanding, I have responded.
I didn't get anything.
Me either.
Could you send it to me again?
Yes, I will.
Because
No, mine was good. I know.
because send it to me. There is another name very similar to mine. Now, not to say that I may not have missed it, so that it could be that you did. I eventually came to me, but I overlooked it.
Okay,
But sometimes I've noticed that my email goes to somebody else's email
okay.
at UT. Right.
So it's your, can you say
Yeah.
yours again?
Yeah.
Because I had to look it up through the,
That's one. The other way, I mean, it's connected. Somehow my students have done it. gmail.com. And whether you send it here or here, it comes to my telephone and it comes to my computer.
So should we put something for each assignment in the subject so you're able to tell, like, say this was our project one for lean, if we all put project one for lean in the subject and then our name or something, you could sort through all the emails.
I could do that. I mean, just put, you know, IE 517 assignment or something like that. I can sort through that because right now I'm not sorting it that way.
Yeah.
What I do is I look at it every day, and what I do is I am trying that within about 2 or 3 hours of receiving an email or something to that effect, by the end of the day, I am trying to respond to everyone so that I'm not missing anybody. Right. Is the presentation ready? No?
Do you have an email, or do you have
He sent it to you, I think, Enrique. So let's go through this. So are we okay? And then the next step is your approach. Okay, and this is something that you may want to do. Approach is see, this is an important issue here at UT, at the Y12 ORNL, etc. down the line. This is what I'm doing, and I'm linking these dimensions over here, and then I'm going to link this here. This is approach. Approach means, what is an approach? Fixing inventory is not an approach. Question is, how are you going to fix inventory? What is the approach that you're going to take? Am I going to go first measure the level of inventory? And if I looked at inventory, there's 20 ways in which I can fix inventory. All right, I can look at how I purchase my products, how I store it in the warehouse, how I keep my reorder points and safety stocks, how I pick and order it. There's a lot of stuff that I can do with inventory. You have to kind of scope it down for me to know what specifically is it that you're trying to improve. Is that okay? And then finally, in this approach, or maybe even here, what I would have is an estimate, just a simple estimate of the amount of impact that I'm going to have on the project. This is your approach, and this is a timeline. Fair enough? And a timeline says, I have to do these things, this is the order by which I am going to do these things. Fair enough? Are we okay? Now,
I was kind of curious
yes, sir.
about that. Some of the, like part of mine could extend well beyond. I know part of this is looking at possibly turning this into a capstone.
That is correct.
But I'm kind of curious as to how much information I'll have to build my project by the end of the semester. So to be able to say, okay, this was my approach, this is what I came up with, this is.
And you can bring it down. I mean, if you don't have all of your data, the best thing to do for the thing is you say, you know, for people at Y12, you can simply say, I can't share the data with you. You know, that's it. But you can say, I can make up data and show you how this model would work. So I don't need your data, because I know that in many cases I'm not going to get to see your data. But if you can give me, I made fake numbers up, but I'm showing you how I'm going to do that, I'll be completely satisfied. Are we okay? So here's what we're going to do. So we're going to standardize it for all of the organizations, in the sense that I'm going to have you develop, there are many, many names for it. Many names for it. Name is not important. In Lean, we call this an A3 form. A3 is simply the size of a paper in Europe. It's a bigger piece of, and so it's not important. So if I could put in my business case, if I could put in the performance metrics, and I'm going to add one more thing here, and the current state, remember the current state? You know, some visual of what the current state is. I would put in my approach, and I would put in my timeline. I can present whatever you did slightly different in the form of one page, but this is what it would look like. Fair enough? Questions? Questions, concerns, anything? So, would you please, to the best of your ability, rephrase your projects in this particular form? That way, you can simply take that form and stick it into your project. All right. Now,
So you want us to send that to you?
if you would, are we okay? Is everybody okay?
You want a document that literally looks like that?
Excuse me?
You want a document with that content, or it literally, you want it in tabular form like that?
I would like that in that format. Why?
So it's consistent.
If we can create consistency in how we communicate within each organization, that'd be a good thing. Hmm?
It's very busy.
There you go, good job. There's an A student right there.
Gold star.
Can I transfer some of those documents?
Okay. Now, just to review something, and then we're gonna go on. Let's go on. Do you remember this? This was a very important concept. That last 2 weeks ago, we talked about, my God, for the first couple of weeks, all we did is talk about, you know, we need to do this, and we need to do this, and we need to do this, and here's lead time, and all this. It was basically the Toyota production system and its concept. And the Toyota production system, if you remember, is that thing that has reduction of lead time, and then we had this diagram all over. Do you remember that? Why did we bring that? Because that first of all sets the mindset to mind, maybe there's a systematic way of approaching the improvement of a process, and it gives you some ideas. 3 principles of lean: reduction of lead time, reduction of variation, and the quality of life. If I am to reduce lead time, this diagram, if I was to redraw it again, shows me what? That I don't have to simply say, hey, go reduce lead time. I need to balance the line and create single piece flow. To balance the line, I have many, many things. To create single piece flow, it's many, many things, right? So these were a template of how you think. Now, we're giving you substance that we can put in to each one of these and the mathematical background. The important thing that we covered last time was what? That we made for the first time a distinction between lead time and cycle time. Lead time is the allocated time. Cycle time is the amount of time that it takes. And I said to you that if you really wanted to sound really, really brilliant, go back to your work and kind of estimate what the actual time is, kind of estimate with the planners how much time they take, and if the cycle time is greater than the lead time, you immediately have a problem. And you simply get into a meeting and you say, after deep thought and analysis, I'm trying to figure out why we have so much overtime. I have come to this idea that we have 2 options. One, the amount of time that we're taking is longer than what we allocate in our planning. So we have 2 options to fix this. That we increase the plan time, which is not a good thing, or we reduce the time that it takes to be able to finish the project. Now, that sounds really impressive. I said, yeah, what a good job. I never came back to this, so I have this concept. We understand cycle time, we understand lead time, we understand service level. Utilization, is that an important concept? Have you ever complained to your kids or to your spouse or to your friends that says, why did you buy that thing? You never used it. Why? I know that I have at home something called a bullet, where you're supposed to throw in all this fruit, okay? And it's supposed to make what, something like a smoothie or something like that? I don't think I've ever used it. But it looks really great on the counter, okay? Have you done that? No. Utilization is one key area that management uses to make decisions. Utilization. Joe here is utilized only 20% of the time. Is that correct? Say yes.
Not that much.
So if Joe is being used 20% time, why don't we add more work to it? Okay. So the utilization, I want you to not understand it in terms of English, but in terms of what? Cycle times and lead times. And with utilization is what? A function of arrival rate versus effective production. So if I'm doing work, okay? And if the rate at which things are coming into me are faster than the rate at which I am doing work, my utilization is going to go what? Up. And if the rate is down, and I'm producing at a particular rate, then I have my utilization is going to be fairly low. So in order to look at utilization, which is a key management component, I have to look at what? Arrival rate. I can work on arrival rates. And I can look at effective production rate. What is the link between this and this right here? If I change some terms, isn't effective production rate the rate at which I do some work, not the cycle time? Or another dimension of the cycle time? Say yes, just for the sake of it. So these things, service levels, utilizations, are linked together. And where we need to do is, if I was to fix the utilization, what can I do? Joe, you're working really, really slow. Speed it up. That's generally the concept, isn't it? For an individual, I could do this. Joe, you need to work a little faster. But when I have a system of 25 people linked to each other, to go to Joe and say, Joe, work a little faster, becomes irrelevant. Because it's not the problem at which he is working, it is how the system is designed to work with each other. And when I don't have a system, this arrival rate, notice, because I'm going to show you something, this arrival rate is key. Arrival rate is, Jeremy, how often do you send stuff here? I don't. And then once a year he sends 1,000 stuff. Is that important? So, in a lean systems on a manufacturing floor, for you, this is very important. Because I can control that, but I can also control this through a pull system. On a work environment in an office, which one do you think is easier to control? I want you to see manufacturing. He has an easier job because he can play around with what? The cycle time or the effective production rate, yes? He can do that. How many of you have the power to go into somebody's office and say, hey, you two, work faster? Would that work?
Probably just get mad at me
You can
and work
say it.
slower.
Huh?
They probably just get mad at me and work slower.
Well, if you want to try it, and you think you can try it, go try it. Knock on somebody's door and say, hey, I noticed that you work really slow. I want you to kind of speed up. Okay. So, here is where you become smart. An equation gives you thought process. It's not that I can put 2 here and 2 here and nobody knows how to multiply 2 by 2 or divide 2 by 2, right? It's the idea that these mathematical formulations start giving you insight into your approach. If I was talking to Rubbermaid, I would say, hey, let's look at your effective production rate because I can control it. Okay, and let's also look at the arrival. The hope at ORNL and Y12 is to manage the arrival rates so that we have what? Something about a one-piece flow. Watch this. Or a pull system. And if I have a one-piece flow or some equivalence of a resemblance of a system that runs something through, what am I going to do? I'm going to reduce my cycle time, and by reducing cycle time, your performance in terms of delivery to your customer is going to go up. Okay? Now, are we okay on this? So, we went through this, and remember this. I just want to make sure that you remember this because we covered this, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. And it said something along the lines of bottleneck, raw processing time, but the most important concept that we had here was what? That there is a level of stuff. And level of stuff doesn't mean parts sitting in production. Level of stuff means something sitting between Jeremy and Joe. The amount of documents that must be sitting there. To that level. It determines how many eggs you should have in your refrigerator. Those are the kind of, so if I can even take this equation and work it to that particular level, it is not the solution, but it gives you the benchmark of what to think. Okay? So what is this? It says, for every system, there is a theoretical level of stuff that you should have. That is dependent upon two things. The bottleneck in the process, and here's the problem. Rubbermaid knows the bottleneck in their process. Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, now here's the problem at Y12 or RNL. None of you know what the bottleneck in your process is. Or does anybody know? Do you know? But don't say it. Because here, we don't say these kind of things. What is your bottleneck?
Our organization.
Huh?
Our organization doesn't have enough people right now.
No, but the bottleneck is what? Who in that organization is slowing everybody down? That's what I want to know. Who is that person? Name that person. Write the name of that person on your paper. Go ahead. This is serious. Huh?
It's a lot of paper.
No, remember, the definition of bottleneck is what? That there's one. There's one source. Now, everybody may be a troublemaker, but one person is at this whole moment the one that is most holding back an organization. I want you to write the name of that person. Or write their initials. Don't write the name, so just in case somebody looks over. Are we okay? Did you have a hard time? No? I was hoping you'd say yes. The whole idea is, in a manufacturing process, it's very easy. Okay? In a business environment and an office environment, it's very, very hard to do that. But if I could do this, then remember this penny fat problem that Enrique and I took you through. I could actually find out, okay, through all of this, what those numbers are. And as I went through those numbers, here is the slide that I want you to talk about, is that there is this level of inventory, W0, critical inventory, in which cycle time is minimized. Correct? And when I look at the cycle time that's minimized, I also look at that is not only where I have a minimum cycle time, that I have what? My maximum throughput. What is throughput? Output. So I ask you the question. What is that level of inventory that you are going to have in your system that is going to minimize your cycle time? Yes? But at the same time, maximize your throughput. Isn't that what you're looking for? Isn't that the concept of lean? that I use the least amount of resources to get maximum throughput. So what is that? That is in essence the concept of lean. Because if I now increase my inventory, what am I just doing?
Just increasing.
You're adding cost to your system. And as I increase it past that, what am I doing? I have made no impact to the output of the system. And many of you, I would assume, are sitting here because you are in this world. You've added people, you've added material, you've requested resources, but your output hasn't changed in the last 3 years. And therefore now you get pressure. And almost every one of you is late on your delivery of stuff. Tell me that that's not true. Because, watch this, your cycle time is gone doing what? And if it is more than what you have allocated time or promised people when you're going to deliver, you're either putting a lot of overtime in, or you're getting these nasty memos that says, you're fairly incompetent. No, it doesn't say that. But if you read between the lines, it says, we have given you resources. You're fairly incompetent. What the hell is going on? Why can't you produce more given that you asked for more resources? Because you asked for the wrong resources. You never designed your system. You accepted the system to be ineffective, but you simply are putting more resources in, and you're dealing with the ineffectiveness of your system based on just adding more resources. Now you're supposed to fight with me. You're not supposed to allow me to say these things. Come on, fight. Somebody fight with me. I just called you really, really bad names. This is almost equal to the, what was it, the Republican debate? It was almost there. And you can't let me get away. Fight with me. Somebody fight with me.
It's not my fault, damn it.
We've always done it this way.
Very institutionalized, you don't have that.
Don't have the ability to fix,
Huh?
don't have the ability to fix the ineffectiveness.
All of this is correct. There's a sense of, we talked about it earlier, much earlier, of this idea of institutionalization. This institutionalization is a sense of giving up. Okay, giving up because when I came in, I thought I could make a big difference. I'm not making a big difference because of I don't have the authority to make it. At this moment, I would even say that I was not aware that the system was working that thing, because if I'm aware, I can talk to a few people. Fair enough? And now we have accepted, again, and please don't take, when I'm talking about Y12 or ORNL or Rubbermaid, this is true of a lot of people. So this is not an issue of, my God, we're picking on a group of people. That's not true. All right? Isn't this, and I'm going to take it at a very high level, isn't this one of the root causes of our inability to compete in manufacturing or in service around the world? Not our willingness. I don't think that's gone away. Our awareness and our ability to think our way out. And if we had thought through some of these simple concepts and simply made ourselves aware, is it possible that one by one, we can change the culture in an organization? And that's why I am very, very focused on your projects, because I want your sense of all of this to come out in your projects. That when somebody reads your project and you present it, they may not say anything to it, but there are 10 people listening and say, oh my God, he or she is right. Okay? And that's the beginning of your change. Now, are we okay? Because remember, this is what we covered. Now, we went past this, and this is important because as I change the width and the cycle time, notice that it has an impact on the throughput, and that's our equation that we use. Now, here's something I want you to think about. I'll show you the equations, but the equations to me are not as important as the concept or grasping of the concept. It says that 0.5, watch, remember that penny fab that we did when we had 1 inventory and 2 inventories and 3 inventories and 4 inventories, and when I looked at 4 inventories, I had what? My bottleneck, my throughput was, is that my throughput? Yeah. That's my throughput, was 0.5. Do you remember that? And after that, what did it do? It stabilized. And then, if I look at it from WIP and cycle time, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then is cycle time a bigger cycle time good? No. But what happens after 4? My cycle time goes up. So I can graph those. This is called the best case. What is the best case? And I want you, this equation, to interpret it for you in terms of English. Cycle time is equal to T0. What was T0? Raw processing. Tell me the difference. Tell me the difference. Raw processing time is what?
Minimum time it's going to take you to produce.
See, here's raw processing time. Here's what I'm going to do. Watch this. It's going to take me, what, 2 seconds to put this cap on, right? Okay, I'm going to keep it here for 20 seconds. See, now, this is not raw processing time. My raw processing time was what? The 2 or 3 seconds that it was. I'm sitting here, it's 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 sitting here. Jeremy, catch. Boom. Watch this. He's now going to take the cap off. 2 seconds. What was the raw processing time? What was the cycle time? Whatever it is, 2 plus 2 plus what? The time that it was sitting here and the time that it took to fly to me. That's the difference. When does the two equal? When is it that my cycle time is equal to my raw processing time? Watch this. That's the closest I can get. What is that? Remember the Toyota production system? Single piece flow, balanced. And if he could do that here, and you could do it here, and you could do it here, and you could do it here, and all that, and nobody put anything down, and we waited and fixed this process like an assembly line, that's the closest that I can get to what? The cycle time is equal to the process. Now, majority, this is optimal. You can't get better than that. Okay? This is the other thing. And I don't understand this equation. Could somebody explain this equation? That means that cycle time is equal to W over something called RB. I don't understand what this is. Could this be the level of inventory? Could this be the bottleneck? So the level of inventory divided by the bottleneck, which means watch this. was this sitting on the table? And if I had many, many pens sitting on the table, what would they be? Inventory, 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 inventory. Why does an inventory occur? Because we are not balanced in the way we work. Why did he not pick it up? Because we were not balanced. And therefore, that is your equation. And throughput, okay, is, and I'm going to show you again. Throughput is what? We're initially talking about this right here, and then we're talking about this. Throughput is the level of inventory divided by the processing time, raw processing time. If, as we increase the inventory is less than the critical inventory, that I have less inventory. But after a while, when I have too much inventory, it is determined what? The throughput is determined by the bottleneck rate. So now, watch this. We're going to come in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. I'm going to take one of these two ladies here, and I'm going to make them the bottleneck. Do we like them? Let's boo them. You can only boo them if you know who they are. You don't even know who they are in your organization. So, I don't know what's the problem. It says, in the worst condition, we would, because I don't have to have perfection, right? I don't have to have perfection. Perfection is what? Oh my God. 4. 4 is a critical W0, and therefore this is 4, and this is 4, and we got everything figured out. But the problem here is, one is to say that my throughput is equal to my bottleneck rate when I don't have a good system. The worst problem is, I don't even know what the bottleneck rate is. So these equations are meaningless to you, because you don't even have the data to put them into your equations. Now see, you can't let me get away with these. You're supposed to fight. Come on.
We don't know who it is.
Well, you know, for our case, Paul and I particularly, we have so many bottlenecks that it's not even, you can't even define them in a daily basis of being system engineers, trying to keep equipment running within a safety basis, and there's just too many. It's kind of hard to put what we deal with specifically into what you're talking about, like an actual production system. Is that?
I think we'll have to match that in our mind. And again, we think of levels. At an institutional level, what is the biggest constraint that Y12 have? That's a constraint. I don't know what that is. Okay? At a division level, what is a constraint? That's a different constraint. And I'm going to bring it down to your project level. You at least have to understand in your project level what your bottleneck is. Because if I fix that bottleneck, it may be that system that is the bottleneck in your division. It may be that division that is the bottleneck in the process. So there's always, I want you to distinguish that every system, no matter how you scope it, it could be a small system, it could be a large system, there is a singular bottleneck. Single. You have, let's not confuse problems with bottleneck.
So in his case, would it be something like the process to get the equipment back online is the bottleneck? Not the individual equipment, the process to get them up and running again.
It could be.
the bottleneck.
If unavailability of equipment is an issue, what causes at this moment, what is the single most important thing that causes the unavailability of equipment? Somebody's pointing here to there.
Yeah, it's his fault.
There's your
For
bottleneck.
us.
There is your bottleneck.
Let me give you a point, like this morning, real point. I actually got called into work because they did a maintenance job. And they asked me to do a form, it's called a valve alignment sheet, partial valve alignment.
Uh-huh.
That's not even my job to do, but the ops manager told her shift manager that he wasn't allowed to do it when it's his job. So, you know what I'm saying, that's a bottleneck that's not even real, except for the fact that our ops manager said that's the way it's gonna be. And I had no problem doing it because they got the work back going, but that's daily stuff.
Oh, I think so, but I want you to look at the overall
Yeah.
1 month, 6 month, a year long, and say, in your department.
All right, we'll blame Dan.
See, I want to make sure that you understand this. I have many problems. I have different problems every day. Okay? But I have a single bottleneck there. The bottleneck is that part of the process that is not working, that is slowing everything down. So we focus on that, and then we figure out if this is the part, what did somebody say? Getting things online again, is that right?
Yeah, fixing
So
equipment.
we're talking about mean time to repair.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we now have unavailability is an issue. Your project is about unavailability. Mean time to repair is a process because it in itself is the least controlled of everything. Mean time to repair is somebody has to know that the machine is down. Somebody has to notify that the machine is down as we write a work order. A work order is written and somebody has to go out and say, what is it, okay, that is wrong? You have to order the parts. The parts are not there. You have to get the equipment and the people all lined up, and eventually, after all of this is done, you fix it, and maybe you just fix the wrong stuff.
Yeah, that happens.
In that process, every one is an issue, but what is